Invest in professional development for your entire organization. Boost its potential and see it grow. Choose Docebo, the world's most powerful platform for corporate learning. Learn more at docebo.com.
It's called gamification, the use of game design techniques in separate fields. Gamification takes the approaches and motivators of video games and role-playing games and applies them elsewhere, especially to work. The word itself, gamification, was coined in February 2010 by the American game designer Jesse Schell during an important video game summit in Las Vegas. From that moment on, many sectors have started borrowing elements from computer games. The basic principle is to use game dynamics to stimulate a person's primary instincts, such as competition, social status, reward, and growth. Companies and tech startups take video game concepts such as scores and levels, and they apply them to the real world of human labor. Starting from the early 2000s, video game-inspired algorithms have increasingly been used to direct economic production in the digital age. It used to be science fiction. Now it's just the norm. And this is the same process used for the gig economy, where workers can make their own hours and choose to work more flexibly. But there's also an increasingly darker and less charitable side, and it's up to us to patch the bugs. I am Guido Brera, and you're listening to Black Box, The Hidden Side of Finance, a podcast by Cora Media, sponsored by Docebo. They call it the gig economy. This refers to a service sector that has been growing at a constant pace and a global level from the early 2000s onwards, reaching an enormous size. The one commandment of this type of company? Work when you need to. Its success is based on the continuing labor of an army of gig workers. They're short-term, temporary, and periodic. Gig work can include anything, from drivers to delivery men, but most conspicuously food couriers. These have become the universal symbol of our modern smart towns. Specific proprietary apps are required to manage the on-demand tasks of these operatives. Algorithms act as digital managers, directing the workflow from behind the shadows, and often following the same dynamics of video game design. If each courier is a small entrepreneur, then the algorithm can deny them their basic worker rights and control them without worrying about regulations. This is gamification. This is the engine that moves the gig economy. Couriers require a high ranking in order to get clients and make more money. To level up, they need points, which the platform only awards after completing a high number of deliveries within a short time frame. This forces them to work at a high pace with few guarantees. Delivery after delivery, ride after ride, customer after customer. With each click, each score, and each new level, their worker rights disappear. It's the Uberization of work. It's gamification. It's the engine that moves the gig economy. This is how the service sector of the new millennium has grown so fast, by pretending to be something else. Workers are pushed to improve their performance, and then they're rewarded. This isn't work. It's a game with levels and high scores. In the age of globalization, this sort of management has created a new gray zone, a frontier without rules or regulations. Algorithms are increasingly in charge of training and organizing. With more and more short-term workers, protection has become less and less. A few years ago, a Forbes article asked the question, will labor unions survive in the era of automation? Although the solution is still very complex, the fact remains that the only way to solve this issue is to look at the actual workers on the field, who have started to fight back for their rights. Food couriers are without a doubt the first category to have endured this type of short circuit. In the last few years, their protests have brought to light the gray area created by the algorithm and the unexpected and worrying trend of deregulating work. We've also seen several court sentences point their finger at gamification, at its bugs, and the broken gig economy. Fabio Montalto, a labor judge in Palermo, accepted the union's appeal and stated that assigning a score of excellence among workers is discriminatory. The appeal regarded a large food delivery platform, which would select couriers on the basis of their previous availability. Essentially, forcing workers to make themselves available at night, on the weekend, or on holidays in order to improve their ranking at the expense of those who couldn't guarantee the same pace. According to Judge Montalto, this was an indirect and potential discrimination, but a discrimination all the same. Forcing workers to compete among themselves ignores the reality of those that can't offer the same availability, be it for personal or family issues, age, health, and so on. Of course, the algorithm doesn't care about these things and won't consider them. This, according to the judge, is unacceptable. Matilde Bidetti is one of the lawyers who brought forth the appeal, and for her, this is a crucial sentence. According to her, ranking workers on the base of arbitrary expectations is without a doubt a potential but alarming form of discrimination. In her words, companies cannot be blind to differences in equal treatment and participation in work. They cannot and must not penalize those who bear a risk factor. For her, this sentence will be essential to labor unions when negotiating with the large tech platforms for the benefit of gig workers. Just like the virtual badges that players display in multiplayer video games, in order to access higher levels of play, the algorithm under appeal was requiring the same from its potential workers. Workers like gamers, compensation as scores, work opportunities as levels to reach, before the game even starts. And once the game starts, you have to rush. In order to keep up your score, you need to complete a high level of deliveries in record times. It's the Uberization of work. It's gamification. It's the rules of a broken gig economy, which needs to be completely recircuited. Black Box is a Cora News podcast, produced by Cora Media and sponsored by Docebo. Written by Guido Brera with I Diavoli. Editorial supervision by Francesca Milano. Intro and sound design by Luca Micheli. Editing and post-production by Luca Micheli and Mattia Liciotti. Production organization by Alex Piverengo.